project.
That's IT uploaded.
Hello everyone, I'm Timothy Go and thanks for staying in on That's IT tonight. Well, you've heard about Windows 8, you've probably seen it, but what exactly is it? Why is Microsoft making such a big deal about it? While all the others are saying it's a make it or break it release for Microsoft. That's IT is resurrected and we are here to get to the bottom of it. Microsoft is putting its reputation on the line with Windows 8, the rebooted, totally redesigned new operating system released just last week. This is CEO Steve Ballmer's first major product release since taking over as CEO, and he is determined to see this one hit the roof. Microsoft designed Windows 8 with the upwardly mobile person in mind. The OS is flexible enough to use on your desktop, your all-in-ones, your laptops, your hybrids, tablets, and even your smartphone. So here are some of the basic things you'll need to know about Windows 8 because trust me, it can get confusing. First, we have the start screen. This replaces the desktop we are so familiar with. But don't worry, once you get used to the start screen, everything you need is right here. All you have to do is scroll left to right, look for the app that you want, or even look at status updates or tweets without having to open up an app. Now, where do you get the apps? The store, of course. The Microsoft Store has enough apps for everyone. Just check it out. You can then organize your apps by just touching on one and moving it to the spot where you want it to be. Pinching the start screen minimizes the app. You can then hold on to a chunk of app and move it to the back and organize it the way you want it to be. Now forget about the taskbar at the bottom of the screen. Microsoft created what they call the charms, shortcuts that gives you the settings, devices, or even to share. Now when you're on an app, you can swipe down from the top to bring out the menus. Easy as that. You can also swipe from the left to bring back another function or go back to your start screen. Now, if you're using your Windows 8 in a traditional setting like with a keyboard on a laptop, all you have to do is hover your mouse to the corners to perform all the things I just showed you. Now, sounds like a lot of things to learn and to get used to, but Microsoft promised it will be a piece of cake.
So I would say it is different, right? It's a change, but it is a very intuitive interface, and I think we've also built in that it is something different for people to help make it easy to walk them through the steps.
But how do you convince people who are going from the Vista to the 7 to Windows 8? You turn it on and it's like, whoa, I'm lost.
Yeah, look, I think the first thing is, what is the navigation? Where do you start? And that's the charms and starts to feel familiar. Also, because it is touch, it gets very easy for people to move around. And then you do have that you can go to the desktop. So you go right back there, and that's what you're used to, the desktop that you used to have. And so I think that combination of you can go back to what you used to know, but the ease of this, once with very little effort, you see it, I think it's quite natural for people.
Asian pop star Chirstian Bautista is also an early user of Windows 8, and he too seemed to find it user-friendly.
The system is new, the interface looks like a tablet, so I like the innovation. That's what I like about Windows. I've been a Windows fan all these years. I'm a gamer as well, so I like the fact that the Xbox brand is getting bigger, it's getting into music. You can take your Xbox games and bring it with you. And I also like, of course, sharing my music or what I do with my life. And I also like the fact that there's a share button where it consolidates all your contacts, your Facebook, Twitter, all in one, and you can just share immediately.
So do you upgrade to Windows 8 with your current hardware? Personally, I think you'll need to get one of those new touchscreen laptops or tablet hybrids to truly experience what is new and remarkable about Windows 8. It was no surprise when Apple announced the iPad mini at an event in San Francisco. What surprised many is the less than stellar specs and the lack of wowing features Apple is famous for. So is Apple really losing it after losing Steve Jobs?
Apple has really
followed the competition. It's no longer being a game changer, it's following the game.
So could it be that after Steve Jobs' death, Apple under Tim Cook is now more focused on the bottom line? After all, it was Steve Jobs himself who said it is meaningless unless the tablet also includes sandpaper to sand down fingers to 1/4 of their present size, when he was asked about the possibility of a smaller iPad just 2 years ago. So why did Apple's new CEO push ahead with it?
Without Steve Jobs, what did Apple do? So Tim has actually done a fairly sensible thing in taking Apple into a more corporate direction. The problem is that it's essentially chasing the money now. So Tim Cook is looking at the numbers rather than the innovation, because that's what he knows how to do.
The iPad mini is a defensive move against similarly sized tablets from Amazon, Google, and Samsung. It behaves just like the iPad we like, with FaceTime HD camera, EyeSight camera, App Store apps, intuitive interface, etc. But, and there are big buts, maybe only Apple fans will find this new release something to rave about.
The thing is that Apple fans have always talked about how Apple isn't about specs. Don't judge something on specs alone. Because if you look at the face of it, Apple products are technically inferior than a lot of the competitors. What they do have is great design, great usability, and a great user interface. My personal opinion is that it's a perfectly fair comparison to make. I mean, you're paying a lot of money for the iPad mini, and you don't have Retina display. It's actually using the A5 chip, which is in the iPhone 5, and not the new A6 chip, which is in the new uprated iPad. So there's a lot less hardware in the iPad mini, and especially compared to its competitors.
But not so fast. At least when it comes to apps, other techies think the iPad mini has the upper hand.
The iPad mini is very different than the Android 7-inch tablets, because the iPad mini, the software that exists now, the 270,000 apps, work on it perfectly. It's not a small app scaled up as it is with the Android tablet.
But at the starting price of $329 US, it is considerably more than the $199 of competing devices, prompting Amazon to do a bold comparison with its Kindle Fire HD. Speaking of fire, Apple just fired 2 of its senior executives, software chief Scott Forstall and head of the retail unit John Browett. The shakeup follows embarrassing problems with Apple's new mapping program launched last month and disappointing quarterly results. Scott Forstall oversaw the launch of Apple's flawed mapping software and the much criticized Siri voice-enabled assistant. At one point, he was billed as one of the future candidates to take the top job at Apple. But word has it, he refused to apologize for the failure of the app in line with what Steve Jobs would have done, and that got him dismissed. The other casualty, John Browett, reportedly messed up a new staffing formula to cut some employees' hours. This is Apple's biggest executive shakeup in a decade, and this is just the beginning. Expect a more Tim Cook kind of Apple in the months ahead. That's all I have for you this week, but join me on the next That's IT when we showcase the new hardwares optimized for the Windows 8. There's a whole new world for you and I to learn out there. And don't forget, you can Facebook or tweet me. I'm Timothy Go. That's it.